Welcome. Today we're going to look at a peace process between Egypt and the United States, not being conducted by the State Department, but by women reaching out to women as a result of the Bush Institute's Women's Initiative. And our guests today are Sandy Halim, a fellow of the Institute, and her mentor, El Paso's own Adair Margo. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome.
Hi. Well, it's good to have you here. And Sandy, you know, you're so young and vivacious and everything, just getting to know you. But I'm wondering, how did you feel about the prospect of coming to America for this program?
Well, I felt great being selected in a competitive process in such a big program. My friends have been to this program last year, so I got a friend from last year suggested me, and and so what they do is they give me an application to fill, which really has a lot of essay questions about my vision for my country and my vision of change for Egypt and so on, and about what I do and my CV and everything. And then they would Skype interview with me. So of course, like, being selected from 75 women down to 20 is a
big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
How about coming to the United States of America? I mean, in terms of the press and the media would have us believe that all Egyptians hate America, and what's the truth behind that?
Well, it's not very true, because America's been a great ally of Egypt. There's still a lot of aid coming from the US to the government. A lot of people, of course, are upset that the government is funding the Muslim Brotherhood currently, and they're doing a lot of destruction to the country. But for us, like, there's always been aids and programs, exchange programs between the US and Egypt, which have been very helpful to the Egyptian students as well. So.
And you graduated from college in Cairo, is that right?
Yes, I graduated from the University of Fine Arts in Zamalek. Yes.
Yeah. And so, from your standpoint, perhaps personally, you were excited about coming to America. You didn't have any apprehension, anything like that?
I was very excited, actually, because I tried coming earlier in 2009 and I couldn't get a visa, so this was like
a dream
arranged.
come true.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah. And how about your family and friends? How did they feel about it?
They were very excited as well. Yeah.
So a lot of support, not a problem. So far, what have you learned from the program? I know you're not totally complete with it yet, but you've still done a lot of things. What kind of things have you learned about America and yourself?
I've learned a lot of stuff, actually. Seeing diversity of people working in different fields. It's just been an inspiration to see so many women being in leadership positions in the USA, and also learning that it hasn't come the easy way, because at the Genesis Shelter program where we visited in Dallas, like the president said, people think that we've always had it this way, but it hasn't. It took a lot of time and hard work to get to this point. So it's been inspiring to see women who have believed their dreams and followed them and fought for them until they came to be.
Right.
So.
Well, you kind of are in the process of following your dreams, because you have your own business, right? Yeah. And so what business is that?
Well, the year that the revolution started in Egypt, I started my own business for handmade products. I had also been working with flower decoration for weddings in Egypt since I started university. So what I do is really like locating local craftsmen, and I make designs and give them, and they would implement them, and then I would sell them. So it's really like bridging the gap between the local craftsmen and the market, and hoping to bridge the gap between them and the international market after the economy has been suffering a lot after the Egyptian revolution.
Right.
So.
And that was, what was it like during the Egyptian revolution? Was it a scary process, or I'm wondering.
It was a mixture of feelings, really. Like, we were very hopeful and we suspected a lot of things. We weren't sure what was going on, but yeah, just a fluctuation of feelings, ambivalent feelings, really. So,
because it was an uncertain time. Now, Adair, this program, what are the goals of the Women's Initiative through the Bush Institute?
Well, I think the president's freedom initiative and movement, they realized that it won't happen without women, and women are really the leaders in so much of it in the Middle East in particular. So their goal is to really create women leaders who can help build their country.
Right.
And it's based on research that shows that a woman's network is the greatest single indicator of her success. And so really these women from, I've gone to both luncheons in Dallas, but even by bringing Egyptian women together, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but it's, it's created a network among themselves,
right.
and they all get their cards, and they meet each other. And when you read about the stories, she's in the second class, but the first class, how one might like to have conferences, the other does printing, the other likes to do photography, and so they're all working together to as a network to make their dreams come true. Right. So, but they extend the network to the United States too with a mentor. And one term they use a lot, which I loved, is cascading the influence. So they cascade the influence in Egypt, but also it's cascading in the United States. I mean, I feel really thrilled to be able to be part of it.
Now, why did they select Egypt as the country, and they're just right now working with women from Egypt? Why is that?
Well, I think a group, they had a group in Dallas, who have been supporters. They just, Mubarak fell. I mean, it was a time of great transition and a desire to build a country up rather than let it disintegrate into chaos. And so it was I think a wise first choice. And so this, they haven't had Egypt just 1 year, but 2 years, and it's like sticking with them. One man, Jim Glassman, at the you were there, but when he said, he was with the State Department for a long time, and they did exchange programs, but then they kind of fell off the end of the earth and everybody lost touch. But they didn't count on Charity Wallace, the Bush's person who's running this program, so it's keeping people knitted together. So I think there's a lot of strong hope for Egypt, despite difficult times.
Right.
They reminded us at that conference how many years it took to free slaves in the United States and to give women the chance to vote. I mean, we act like we've always been where we are. And so it's kind of, there's a sense of comradeship.
I think it's also because Egypt is a key nation. It's considered to be a doorway to the Middle East and to Africa. So it's always had a lot of influence around the surrounding nations, really. So whatever happens in Egypt gets like viral all over.
Right.
So
well, it seems like it's kind of ironic that women hold the key to social progress and change. Why do you think that is? Because the Middle East is not known for honoring women and their role and the contribution that they can make. Why do you think that women hold the key to change versus men?
Well, I think women are very, very determined, and they can work with whatever it's on their hands. They can utilize whatever really limited resources to create a lot of things. Like a big example of this are the African women. They would just use whatever materials in their hands to create things and sell them. And I think they're very, very naturally talented entrepreneurs. They're good at negotiations. And they believe they can do it. A lot of women believe, despite the challenges they face, we have a lot of success stories for women who grew in in a challenging atmosphere, really, and made it. So,
Now, let's take a minute and watch this clip of Laura Bush talking about the Women's Initiative.
When you educate and empower women, their involvement betters the lives of their families. It strengthens their communities, and it improves the stability of their countries. The Women's Initiative Fellowship is designed to help the fellows develop the skills to become effective leaders. Each will then establish new friendships and build a strong and reliable network of women.
Make huge networks to help each other to be better, okay? And this came from a need to be stronger.
So just hearing Laura Bush talk about that, the fellowship program, I mean, how did the whole thing get started in the first place? What was the vision behind it, Adair?
Well, I mean, she was involved with the Women's Initiative while she was still First Lady, and you know, made so many trips to the Middle East, Afghanistan, and I think the president wanted to hit the ground running and not wait for a building to be built, so they started an initiative in reaching out again to women in the Middle East.
Right. Well, Laura Bush has always been very focused on, I remember, I think she did a speech about the women in Afghanistan and what she was seeing and the hope that she had through the women. Why this focus on women? Women have so few rights in the Middle East. Why women? Do you think she's thinking that that's a good idea? Why not the young men?
It's almost like El Paso when we didn't vote for him. He says, "Well, we're going to spend all the more time out there," and it's like where the greatest need is where you know, where they go. And this freedom agenda is so powerful, and they've always believed that women would help lead the way.
Right. Well, I know just in the reading that I've done on social entrepreneurship, which is what you are, I don't know if you realize that you're a social entrepreneur, they find that actually investing in women usually pays off a lot better. Why do you think that is, the women in Egypt? Do you think that's a better investment, perhaps?
Well, I think women have a lot of compassion, really, which compels them to do better at their job, locating people and helping them, like by providing jobs or stabilizing their incomes to care for their families. So yeah, and I also think women are very determined. When something's in their heart, they really can feel it, they go for it, and they will do whatever it takes to accomplish it. So.
Right. Yeah.
One of the women who was part of Sandy's group said it was so beautiful when she was in the last class. She says, "Women have the gift of life within them, and we want to
that's true.
And to you know, share it. This whole notion of cascading your gift of life or what you want to do with your life to others. It was very beautiful that day when she expressed that.
Right, and so. The thing that I was actually surprised to learn about you, Sandy, is that you are a Christian. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you want to tell us a little bit about how did you come to faith and what kind of faith do you have? And is it a strong faith or what?
Well, my family has been Christians, like, and my grandparents as well, like my father and mother, my grandparents from both sides. So I grew up in a Christian family. But of course, you have to have your personal experience with Jesus. So yeah, I've been very privileged to go to different youth camps and at a young age and get to have a personal relationship with the Lord.
So are Christians pretty active in Egypt? I mean, if you want to find Christians and be a Christian, there are plenty around?
Yeah. Well, one of the very encouraging things is the church that I go to, which is actually in Tahrir Square, where the whole revolution took place. And we served as a field hospital to everyone who was wounded in the square protesting or whatever. And also we host a lot of the very famous reporters and TV presenters in Easter and in Christmas. And so yeah, it's a very active church that I'm part of. And a lot of Christians are very active politically as well, believing that they have a role to bring change to the society through politics.
Oh, so Christians are now part of the government or have representation in the government, is my understanding. And so unlike a lot of other Muslim countries, it seems
not
like
in the government, but in parties, in political parties.
Oh, political parties, okay, but not in the government per se. But there is religious tolerance in Egypt from the standpoint of there are Christians, there are Muslims, there are Jews, and so forth, or.
In the community, actually, we grow up Christian and Muslim together. We play together, go to school together. So really, like the discrimination is very recent to Egypt, actually. It's not something that we're used to, and this is not how we hope it would be.
Right.
So
it's a change, not at the positive direction. How will this affect your business and the dreams of what you want to do in terms of your own business? Are you going to just plow ahead?
I'm not worried about that.
Right.
Well, I believe, like, if the Lord is for you, no one can stand against you. So,
So how is it that you want to help people through your business, because you don't just want to have a business, you really want to do something more, is my understanding.
Yeah, well, there are two aspects to this. One of them, of course, is helping the local Egyptian craftsmen go on with their crafts and sell, and that is like by bridging the gap between their work and the market, the craftsmen and the market, which has been like decreased after the revolution because of the tourism has decreased and everything. So this is one aspect. The other is like I love to create beautiful things with positive and inspirational messages. Usually it will have a scripture or just inspirational words like hope, love, and peace, and joy, and life, and so just to bring hope and restoration to people's souls. So I believe beauty is very liberating.
Yes,
so,
no, I think that's certainly true, and I know Adair has a philosophy, very strong philosophy about the uplifting qualities of beauty, right?
I do.
Yeah, and art. Yeah.
I think it may be why they matched us, Sandy.
I think it's true. You are certainly two fellow travelers in that. Now, in terms of what kind of crafts do the local craftsmen make? I don't know if I've ever seen anything particularly Egyptian.
One of the things is the brass industry. This is really very, very
brass,
famous.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of crafts with brass, like everything you can think of, trays and chandeliers and candlesticks and cups and plates, and they would all have this beautiful carving in them, and it's just a joy to watch the craftsmen working on them. We also have blown glass. This is very Egyptian as well.
Really?
Yeah, like beautiful, colorful blown glass, and this finds a lot of positive feedback from foreigners who attend the fairs in Egypt and buy our products. So, so far my products have gone to more than 12 countries around different continents as gifts. Oh. But I'm hoping to export.
Right, yes, right. So what was the first step that you took to get started? I mean, did you have to have capital funding, or I mean, how did you do that? I mean, you're a young woman of what, 26?
Yeah,
just 26, and here you've already got this business going and gonna get a boost hopefully through this program. So what was the first step that you took to start your business?
Well, actually, I started on the roof of my building. I didn't have an office or a workshop, so our apartment was the last apartment in the building, and we had the roof as ours too, with an internal staircase. So this is where I worked. I had a little studio up there that I used to work during university in, and then I started there. And then my father was very supportive of the business. Actually, he made the angel investment, and this is how I got started.
Wow.
So yeah.
Now, what was the point where you decided to do this? Was there some form of inspiration, a moment that you can reflect back on and say, I'm going to do this? Or did it just kind of evolve?
I can say it's a moment really, but it's been a process of understanding, like, of how what I do reflects something very great in God's character as an artist and a craftsman, and how he describes himself as a master potter, and in verses that he would say, I knit you in your mother's womb, you know, like there's this
knitting,
art,
right?
It's very related to God's character, and then I feel it's who I am. I reflect who he is in this sense. So. Yeah, and it's been a process really learning about who he is, and this is how I get to do my work.
Right.
So yeah.
So it's been a long-term discernment process. Yeah. What kind of art do you do? Well, hopefully we can get some pictures up for that. What is it that you do?
Well, I do a lot of journals, really, like they're hand-bound and handmade from scratch. Like we get them in sheets, and then we would cut them and bind them to cardboard and bind the paper and do the art, like with crystal or with I do brass ornaments, pendants to wear, and for cars and bookmarks, and the blown glass I help market or maybe add a little bit of scripture on it before we sell it. I also make cushions. I have a new line of customized cushions.
Cushions? Okay, nice.
And a lot of other things, jewelry, and a lot of other things.
So you really are an artisan and a craftsman all put together there, and so you can probably recognize it when you see it. Adair, what has it been like for you to participate in this program, and what are you going to be getting to go to Egypt and that kind of thing, or how does it work?
Part of the program. I've never been to Egypt, so I've always wanted to go. So that's part of the program, is that Sandy comes here to visit, and then the mentors in turn go to the country of the fellow. So I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, I've always been interested in crafts. When she came in my house, in fact, I mean, the woodwork, the hand woodwork, and I took her to Rocket Buster Boots, and you know, we've visited with, and I find it interesting because it's, for instance, I thought, well, Sandy's coming, and there's this beautiful shop, collectibles, of a woman named Sandy Halim owns it, and I called her because I just got a sense from talking to her that she might like it. I mean, I didn't really know, we hadn't met before. But when she walked in there and she just started looking at the things at collectibles, and she said, "If I ever have a shop, I want it to be like this." And then Marilyn Maluli, she's part of an Arabic-speaking congregation, and I knew about the Greek Orthodox Church. She says, "Oh no, we're the one across the street. We speak Arabic, and I'm always looking for gifts for our festival every year, our fair." And so for her to show the bookmarks with scripture in Arabic, it's almost like, you know, providential. I mean, it's like you're making these connections, and you feel part of this flow that just unfolds right before you. So it's amazing. I feel like it's a real privilege to get to be a small part of it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, if you look at the women who are in this program, they're really all quite remarkable, and we do have a brief clip that will show you to kind of introduce you to the 14 women who are part of this program.
1,000-mile trip starts with one step.
My name is Isra Fathi. I'm working as a fashion designer. I create ideas for TV and radio ads.
We are working on promoting values of democracy, public participation, especially political participation, human rights, as well as freedom of expression and association.
Founded a women initiative to help more girls and women to stand out in the technology sector and manage between their home and work.
Well, I envision Egypt as a country where people can live decent life and their human rights are respected.
That we can live the human rights in a normal way. It will be the basic for our lives. We don't have to fight for it.
I just dream of a powerful Egypt and a strong Egypt, and if I may say, a young Egypt as well, because I believe that power in Egypt should go to the youth, because they are the ones who are going to be building the future of Egypt.
Part of my vision that I came here for is community service through sports.
And I'm looking forward to support the education phase and to support the people that really need to be educated in order to sustain themselves and sustain their family.
I would love to see the people getting better chances in work, education, and health.
And I'll get an inspiration, motivation to go back and trying to influence the women's situation in Egypt.
Okay, so when we've gotten kind of an overview of the other women in the program, and you all have a vision for changing Egypt, not just that's one of the reasons why you were, or improving Egypt, why you were selected for the program, right? And so what is your vision for change, and is it similar to the vision of other women in the program?
Well, yeah, everyone in this program hopes to see a better and a younger Egypt. So everyone in her field is working towards that really very faithfully, and whether in education or in health or in politics, or everyone's just building, we're all building in the same place. So yeah. So
you're all, hopefully as a result of this, you'll be able to network and do that. So when you look at has your view of kind of international relations and the media changed as a result of experiencing the United States? Is it the way, because I know that for me, when I've been in a country and then I look at how the media portrays it, often it's not the same. So has that been true for you? Are you getting a different feel for the United States than what is out there on the media waves? Or
well, of course, like you cannot describe something for someone, you cannot get the real taste of it until you try it. So of course there are a lot of things to experience for yourself than just hear on the media. So yes, of course.
How has this impacted you personally, this time that you've been spending here?
Well, it's been very enlightening, really, and broadening. I love cultures myself. I've done a program before in the UK with 40 different nations, so I love to explore cultures, and it's been just very broadening of perspective, because you discovered a lot of people who are different than you, and yet you can find those points of contact, you know, where you can meet and you can share experiences and talk about your country and your hopes and your frustrations, and you find that it's the same all over the world, really. So,
do you think that people have the wrong impression of Egypt here in the United States?
Well, it differs. Some people do and some don't. So, yeah.
So you are hoping maybe you can have an impact on people's perception of Egypt as well in a positive way. So what are you going to tell people about America when you return to Egypt? And people say, oh, you spent this time in America. What are you going to say?
Well, I would say that everyone I met was very intentional about what they're doing, and this is very encouraging, really. People are not afraid to dream big and to try, and this is something that we need. We need hope. And it's been inspirational, like watching. We went to the women's suffrage home, and we saw the process they had to go through until they could get the rights to vote and be involved politically. So it's just like inspiring. I've gone to many places like the Genesis shelter in Dallas and different places, and the Kate Spade in New York, and I think I'm gonna share stories instead of just
opinions.
An opinion.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So this is what stays with you, the stories that stick.
Right.
So.
Which has been the most powerful story that you've heard while you've been here?
Oh, that's a very challenging question.
A lot of powerful stories.
Everyone has been, powerful in their own way. But I think I loved the Genesis shelter in Dallas very much. I was very impressed by what they do to help women who are victims of domestic violence, and how they're very devoted to it, and so.
And that's certainly a big issue in most Middle Eastern countries, or any country, as a matter of fact. So right. And Adair, what are you hoping that Sandy will take away from this experience?
Well, you know, relationships with other people. Part of her challenge, we've been working on her personal what's it called, your personal action plan, but the people that she's met become part of her network, and will be helpful to her, that she'll leave having friends in the United States that she can call on with questions, and I being one of them, but having many others too.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you stopping in your very short visit here to El Paso, but thank you very, very much for being here. Okay. Do you think that this type of program is going to be a good use of resources, and that it will actually promote peace? Is this a worthwhile investment, do you think? Please let us know by visiting us at the ksce.com website or on Facebook or Twitter. Thank you so much for watching.